Hey everybody, Stubby here at Baumgart's Weather Center. We've got some beautiful weather coming in for this weekend into next week. I thought this would be a great time for us to take a little bit of a look as we go into September, as right now the LRC is projecting a very wet last couple weeks of September. And of course, right here in West Central Missouri, that's going to be a very active time for our farmers in the harvest. So, thought we would listen to Gary Lezak as he explains what part of the cycle we are in now and what we can expect as we go into September and into that wet period of the cycle there at the end of September. He's also going to be taking a look at Hurricane Aaron and some tropical disturbances out into the Atlantic. So, if anybody has any questions or maybe want a little bit more information on the dashboard that is available for subscription services, feel free to reach out either on my YouTube video, on Facebook, or you can go to subbysweathertalk.com and you can click on that little icon that says ask me a question, and as soon as you do that it goes right to my phone and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions that you might have. So let's listen to Gary as he explains the LRC for West Central Missouri, what we can expect as we go through the month of September.
I'm meteorologist Gary Lezak with Weather 2020. The weather pattern is right on schedule, but we're getting the late August and September version. What is going to happen as harvest approaches? And we're going to take a look at Hurricane Aaron to start and a lot more. We're going to take a look at the possibility of our first freeze. When will that be? Let's take a look. All right, we'll start by taking this full, and you can see here that we're calling it from hurricanes to harvest, Aaron's forecast, cooler weather ahead, and a drought-free ag belt, which is just amazing. Look at the hurricane as of Saturday. It was a Category 5 hurricane. The eye was well formed, and if it would have continued the strength, it would have been amazing, but it did not. In fact, look what happened to it as of this morning. It has really weakened. Compare the two. This was Saturday, very well organized hurricane, still barely a Category 2 hurricane now. Here's Cape Hatteras, the Outer Banks of North Carolina, Here's the South Carolina coast, and it's going to track something like this. Get awfully close, but miss the Outer Banks, which is great news. As many of you are aware and you've been following it, there is the mid-August risk that we issued back in March. All right? So the forecast windows to monitor mid-August and also at the end of September. This part of the pattern is going to return again. So don't be shocked if I'm showing you this similar map. Hopefully it'll not make landfall again. One of the possibilities is for it to make landfall, but this one is probably not, because the reason it curves up here, these are the weather seeds that showed that it would likely be a turn. But Chantal hit the coast, so we got to watch it. This was the forecast as of a few days ago, but look how it changed. Here again, there's the forecast, and this is how it changed. This red area is the forecast zone that we put out in March. Oh yeah, a perfect forecast would have been right down the middle. All right, and then crossing our forecast in here. This right here, this swirl is our prediction from 10 months ago as a target location for mid-August, and this is where it's tracking. So this is our forecast. That's where it's tracking. That's a pretty good forecast, 10 months out. Again, there's only one way to do it. The fact that we can get a hurricane right, and we're not claiming a 100% accuracy on tropical systems. It's 25% to 84% accurate. Most likely 65% of the time we're going to get these right, which is a whole other story, which is just incredible. Remember, there is no other way. So I wanted to share that with you. This is the GFS forecast for the system off the coast, and the European model comes a little bit closer to the coast. So some showers and thunderstorms do get into the outer bands of the hurricane towards the eastern part of North Carolina there. So we'll see. A little farther east, not much impact at all, but there's going to be a little bit of wind. Tropical storm warning is in effect for that area. All right, now on to our weather forecast. As you can see here, this is the outlook. This is actually the rainfall that actually happened from July 1st to August the 19th. All right, so let's take this full again. You can see now, this is the August 19th ending. So about the 19 and 31, so 50 days. This is a 50-day rainfall total. Montana, North Dakota, South Dakota, Central and Iowa, very wet, nearly 200% of average rainfall or more over the northern half of Iowa, as you can see here. Also, the unfortunate situation, the Guadalupe River basin got blasted by 20 inches of rain, and their unfortunate situation you can see there with all the flooding, 135 people killed. But with this much rain falling during the summer, look what happened to the drought. And as many of you know, as predicted, from December all the way through, I was saying the drought is likely going to be shrinking. It's unlikely to have any major heat wave and drought this year. And that is what happened. This is a D3 drought in South Dakota, western Nebraska, eastern Wyoming on March the 15th. So watch what happens from March 15th to 5 months later. Look at that. So there was the drought as we were entering spring. Here's the drought as we're leaving summer. Doesn't always do that. When it isn't going to do that, we also predict that. It's 4 years in a row now that we have predicted the agriculture belt centered on the corn belt, from Montana to Ohio and down into the southern plains. Look at having the Texas's drought. Even that got wiped out. Where did the drought increase? Watch out over Utah. In western New Mexico, the drought actually increased out there. The Pacific Northwest, the drought increases, but not over the plains. That's pretty amazing. Could it be too wet in spots by late September? Now, the new LRC will be setting up, but just as it does, we expect a wet pattern at the end of September. That's our forecast right now, and it could be a problem if you're waiting until then to harvest. So keep that in mind. It could be a problem. That's what we're predicting. There's a phase 1 and a phase 2 part of the LRC. A wetter south and drier north phase 1. Kansas City and Des Moines are involved with that with 20 to 30 inches of rain since October with that part of the pattern. And then the phase 2 is a lot less rain, and that returns mid-September. This returns mid to late September. This drier phase for Kansas City and Des Moines is early to mid-September for about 2 to 3 weeks, and then it gets wet. We expect at the end of September, second half of September. Now, what's going on? All of a sudden, the latest data has fairly dry across Nebraska, Iowa, northward for the next 2 weeks. All right, remember, we're in that phase 1 of the pattern. This is the part of the pattern that's drier up north and wetter down south. But even parts of Missouri northward, much of the agricultural belt, all of a sudden suddenly drier as we go towards the early part of September. That's the GFS or American model. The European model is similar, a little bit more chances, opportunity for rain, still dry up here in the Dakotas. So we'll monitor this between now and next week and see what materializes. But what's happening is snow. What? Did I say snow? Look at this. The blue. That is snow up across the northern territories of Canada, up in near the North Pole over Greenland. So all of a sudden some snow showing up. And then this cold front, here is Kansas, Missouri, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota. This cold front's coming through. This is Friday night. So on Friday night in the big town, August 22nd, this cold front's going to come through and this high pressure area is going to come down, and look what happens to it. The high pressure area expands, the wind blows away from high pressure and the air sinks. So look at how dry it all of a sudden gets, lower humidity from Montana to New York all the way down to Georgia and Kansas and Colorado. a dry spell beginning in the early to mid part of next week. Before that, there are opportunities for rain, and another tropical system is possible as well. We'll be monitoring. But anyway, just know this is the overall weather pattern. Here's the United States, just to give you some bearing. But this high pressure area is going to bring some cooler air down here. All right, the first freeze forecast, straight from our dashboard. This is for North Dakota and Minnesota. North Dakota and Minnesota. You can see here, forecast rainfall near average to above average. So most areas still get adequate moisture in our forecast from now all the way into next year. Now, granted, the new LRC sets up right about here. So all this is a wild card, but it does show across North Dakota and Minnesota our first freeze right here on October the 28th. So it shows a warmer start. So September, no early freeze expected. So there could be a frost in here, but the first freeze shows 32 degrees. And this is for all of North Dakota and Minnesota, so it may happen a few days to a week earlier in a few spots up north. So this model is available for all of you. So many of you do have it. Thank you for being customers. And you can have it, and there's a demo. Go to our site. I've got the YouTube link for our demo of how this all works, and I did some other states and counties. The LRC model is available. Again, it's Bryce at weather2020.com, or go to weather2020.com. You can sign up. Bryce at weather2020.com. If you have any questions at all, we'll get you set up, and we can offer some discounts too. All right, so there you go. There's your update for today. Very interesting weather pattern. I posted on social media a post about the Farmer's Almanac winter outlook. Every region of the United States is forecast to have a harsh, horrible, bad winter. Wet, stormy, cold. Do you see what they do? They do that just to sell books, just so you know. It's going to be bad everywhere. Last winter forecast a year ago, bad everywhere. The year before that, bad everywhere. They do it every year. They're better salespeople than I am. I just give you meteorology. All right, guys. We're going to continue to work on these products. If you have any feedback, let us know. Have a great day, everybody.